In this lesson, we are going to add React query to the project to manage asynchronous states and getting data from backend. Based on the documentation in their website, first of all, we need to install two packages. First one is tanstack/React query. Let's install it. Open a new terminal. Go to frontend folder and install this package. The next package that I'm going to install is a DevTools for React query. It helps to better find issues and debug the code. Install React-query-devtools from @tanstack2, and we are ready to go for configuring React query. First step is in main.tsx. Go to main.tsx. We do not need to import Axios and setting default value here. Get rid of it. The next step is wrapping React router by query client provider from React query. Let's do that. I just get rid of this one and replace it with this one. So what I did is to wrap the React provider inside query client provider. Import it from React query. So it's a wrapper for all components, so we can access to the React query from all components inside this project. We need to pass query client as props to this higher order component. Query client is an object from query client of React query. Let's define this object from query client and import it from @tanstack/React query. At the end, to have DevTools for React query, we need to import tanstack/React query DevTools and set initial is open to false. We're not going to open it by default, the DevTools. So here is the code for JSX part. And here is the code for import part. Save the code. Let's check the result. If I refresh the page, I'm getting 404 error because I didn't use React query to send API call. But here I have this icon. When I click on it, I can see the DevTools of React query. As you see, there is no API call here. So the next step is implementing API call by React query. We need to create API client in the source folder. Go to frontend, src, right-click new file, API client.ts. First of all, import Axios. Because we removed Axios in the main.tsx, we need to do it in this file. Next step is creating Axios instance by calling axios.create and putting the result inside API client. The parameter that we pass to Axios is base URL, and as you see, it comes from the main.tsx. It's exactly like what we did in the main.tsx. If we are in development mode, use this address, otherwise use / because in the production mode, we have frontend and backend in the same server, so it should be the root of project. Also, I added another setting. The header of all requests should be of type application/JSON for content type. So it makes API request standard based on JSON format. Great. The last step is exporting. Just export default API client. save the code to format it, and let's go for next step. Next step is creating hooks. For React query, we need to create hooks to send AJAX requests to the backend. So I need to go to src folder, create a new folder for hooks. And the first hook that I'm gonna create is product hook, because we are going to show list of products. Set the name to producthooks.ts. Inside product hooks, I'm going to create a hook to load all products from backend. Here is the code. First of all, define use get products query. As you see, the use and query is constant. We use it in all other hooks, but this part is dynamic based on what we want to do. We are going to get products. So this is a convention, and you need to follow this rule to creating React query hooks. Also, make sure you export this one so you can use it in other file. So what is this hook? It's a function. And in this function, what we return is use query. Use query is a hook from React query. So I need to import it. Use query hook accept options as parameter. And in the options, we need to set two things. First of all, the key of query, I set it to array, and inside this array, I have one element, and the name of element is products. So it means that save this query in the cache as this key. The second parameter for use query is query function. When we access to this key, what API call should happen? So for this one, I need to define an async function like this. And in this async function, I return this data. What is this? It's like an AJAX request, because API call, as you saw here, it's an instance of AJAX, Axios. So here it's like axios.get. Let's import API client. It's the modified version of Axios by having the setting that we want. And the type of API call is get. And what we're gonna get from backend is an array of product. Let's import product from types folder. And for get function of Axios, we need to define the API URL. It's API/products. There is no need to put a slash, because inside the API client, we already put a slash here. So I need to put a slash here too. And the result of this function is Axios response object. And inside Axios response object, we have a very important property, which is data. So I need to return the data. The other part of the response is not important for me. So what I did in this function is to define a hook using use query hook of React query and send an AJAX request to the backend to this address to get list of all products and return it to wherever I need it. Let's go and use it. Inside home page.tsx. First of all, I'm going to show how. First of all, let's get rid of all the stuff that we do not need anymore, like state, action, initial state, reducer, use reducer, and even use effect. As you see, we can get rid of all of them. And your code is super small. But the thing is how we can load data here. Yeah, it's super simple. Just by calling one line of code. Here is the code. What I did is to use getProducts query that I defined inside products hooks. Let's import it. And here is the object that returned by this function. The first field of this object is data, and I rename it to products, and it contains the result of API call. The next field is loading, and it shows the status of loading data from backend. So I need to rename loading in the return part to is loading. And the next one is error. So I can check the error, and if there is an error, show the error. So to show error, I need to use get error function from utils folder and pass error as API error. API error should be imported from types folder. The last change is in the products. As you see, it says products is possibly undefined. I need to put exclamation mark to make sure that products is not undefined, because if loading is false and there is no error, for sure I have products. I just forgot to set the port number to 4000. By having this change, let's check the result. Here I have list of products. If I click on this icon, I have one query. If I click on it, I can see the status of query, it's stale, and the data is here. List of products. And here is the information about the query. If I click on refetch, it refreshes the data from backend, invalidate, reset, remove, and refresh again. Also, I can check the developer tools in the network section and refresh. As you see, the API call to this address has been done by React Query, and the result is here, and it's part of my React application. Let's see what we did here. Instead of having a very long code in the previous version of fetching data from backend from useReducer, I have used only one line of code from React Query. So what it does is to make our code very simple, small, and manageable in larger scale. That's it about this lesson. Until next lesson, bye-bye.